Hi, Sax Gourmet fans. It's Steve Goodson, and I am speaking to you from the ultra top secret command and control bunker here in Sector R of the city of New Orleans. Um, I'm in the executive offices right now, and I want to welcome you one and all to our every other Tuesday seminar. We got a great one for you tonight. But before we start, hello, Giles. Thanks for joining us. But before we start, I got to tell you about just a wonderful experience I had today. I had a couple of visitors from the great nation of Scotland. And you know, there's something about those people from Scotland. They're the friendliest, nicest people you ever saw in your life. And these two men, Rick and Bob, were just wonderful, good musicians as well. But I had a great time with them, and I thank them for their business, but I really thank them just for being so nice this morning. So, hello, George. Yes, greetings from Germany. So, anyway, by the way, for those of you who haven't visited me in person here at Sax Gourmet World headquarters, do you know that everywhere I go, this guy goes with me? This is Harvey. And Harvey's my dog. He's a Papillon. He's got papers and all that good stuff. But he's with me all day, every day. And Harvey loves music. Everybody that comes into the showroom or my teaching studio, Harvey listens to them play. So anyway, he helps me with a lot of things, and nobody slips up on us. It's Harvey and our other dog, Sugar, always looking for it. Hello, Felix. Glad to have you here. You've been posting some great stuff, buddy. Thanks, Felix. You know what I'm talking about. So, Harvey, I'm going to let you get down so we can talk to these good people about some of the stuff that's important to them. Now, I want to emphasize to you, I'm 68 years old. I've been in this music business for an awfully long time. You know, I tell people all the time, I've been to every continent except Antarctica playing the saxophone. And I wasn't born knowing how to deal with all this different stuff that comes up in the music business. Hello, Bob Henderson. And so the fact of the matter is, somebody had to teach me all this, so I'm going to share you some of the things that I've learned. And tonight, we're going to talk about what questions you should ask before you accept that out-of-town gig. Now, the fact of the matter is that I moved to New Orleans for love about 25 years ago, and honestly, there's so much work here that I rarely had to leave the city. But I did from time to time. But before that, man, I was all over the place all the time because the life of a professional musician usually involves a great deal of time on the road. Well, you guys know how proud I am of my students. I got some outstanding students. And one of them is last weekend was playing an extremely high profile gig, one-shot deal. It was about 6 hours away from New Orleans where he makes, and he was asking me, Steve, what all should we do about this, that, and the other? And it occurred to me that I had to learn this from other people. So I'm going to share with you some of the things you need to know about playing out-of-town gigs. Okay? First, you call me and say, Steve, I need you to play this festival here in Tallahassee, Florida, and all that. First question I'm going to ask you is, what's the fee? Okay, well, it's something you better consider. If you're going to play out of town and it's going to take you a certain amount of time to get to the gig and get home, then you better figure all that time in before you quote them your fee. Ordinarily, if you were playing a gig in New Orleans, usually when I would play, it usually takes $250, something like that, to make me happy. back when I was playing. But if we got to go 6 hours away and then, spend the night and all that good stuff and all the hassle of playing out of town, etc., then, yeah, you're right, Matthew. You got to know the repair in the city you're gigging in. But at any rate, here's something you better know. You better figure out what your fee's going to be, considering the amount of time it's going to be involved, even if it's just a one-shot gig. In this case, my student was playing, of course, with a headline act at an outdoor festival. Sound check was at 1:30, so he had to be there. He had to drive too, because people were coming from literally all over the nation to play in this group that he was with. So I know there was some people from New York, some people from Georgia. I had my good buddy Joe Martin, who was my next door neighbor when I was growing up. He and I were at Auburn together, and he's just a wonderful man. Wonderful family too. But anyway, and then they were closing out the show at 11. So, they're going to end up spending the night. So you need to consider the actual time. And the question arose, well, Steve, how much would you do that gig for? Usually a festival like that, when I was doing it, I wouldn't do it for less than $750. Now, that's just the way that was, because I got to consider my actual time on a one-shot deal. Now, the next question is, what exactly are the expenses that they're going to, cover? Okay, let's talk about those different expenses. One of the main expenses that comes up is, of course, my travel arrangements, okay? Are you going to book my airline ticket for me? Well, I hope so. And I'll tell you a funny story about a buddy of mine, my good friend, the late Tim Green, who played with Peter Gabriel and a bunch of other famous English rock stars. English rock stars are the best rock stars. You all know that. But Tim, I remember one time he was telling me, yeah, this guy wanted me to go do this South American tour with him, somebody we didn't know real well. And he said, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make him give me a return ticket, because I don't want to get down there and get stuck in Argentina or Venezuela. Man, we get good friends joining us from all over the world. Our good friend from Canada, Bernard Jean, I think, as they would say it. And I want to tell you that Captain Don Whitecotton is joining us now. Captain Don and I have been friends for about 40 years. And Captain Don, why are you watching me instead of taking care of your property in Panama City, Florida, and elsewhere on Florida coast? Captain Don is a charter boat captain, and they could about have a hurricane down there. All right, back to the travel arrangement. Prepaid flights, yeah. I want to do that if we can. If the band has a tour bus, which a lot of bands do, that's really a very practical way to travel, because you can carry if you have a bus or two, then you can carry the band and the crew. Everybody travel together. Now, we're going to have another seminar in the future about tour bus etiquette, because there's a bunch of rules that apply to the tour bus. But ordinarily, those Prevost buses that you see bands traveling in, they usually have 12 bunks and a front and a back lounge. The bunks are not very comfortable, not very big, but it is your little space, and you can, in theory, tune out the world. But I got some bad news for you. I never been on one of them tour buses where there wasn't a party going on, up in the front lounge or the back lounge. So make sure everybody kind of understands where your bunk is, so you can put your stuff there. And if there are any extra bunks, if the bus sleeps 12, but there are a couple extra bunks, what usually happens is those extra bunks become someplace you can store equipment, extra equipment, all that. Those big buses also underneath them, they'll carry just about your full rig. So hell, I used to travel with 4 horns plus spares plus my other junk. So there's plenty of room on the bus. So it's a pretty practical way to travel. Now, in this case, my student was going to drive to the gig, and his sister was on the gig too. She's a fine bass player and an outstanding vocalist. So they were both on the gig. And something I'd want to know, you going to pay me mileage? Because if it was a union gig, it used to be with the union, after I think 25 miles, they had to start paying you so much per mile. Okay, I want to know about that. Another thing, particularly if we're flying, and my good friend Emil Hall, also known as Pooney, was over here visiting with me the other day, and we were talking about this seminar. And Pooney said, something. He's been in Irma Thomas's band since 1989. Goes all over the world with Irma. But Pooney said, a lot of times if we're going to Japan, say, I got all this stuff I got to bring, extra wardrobe, all that. And now the airlines, if you got more than one suitcase that you're going to check and all that, they're going to charge you a big fee. Yeah, they are. So you need to get it real clear with the people that you're working for exactly, you're going to cover all those extra fees for all that stuff I got to carry. Okay, now, here's something else that comes along with your fee for performance. And that is, and this is something my student didn't seem to know, is the per diem. Now, we used to just call it walking around money, but it's technically called the per diem. So I'm going to come play your festival. You're going to fly me there, etc. But also for the 2 days I'm there, you got to give me $50, $75 a day for walking around money. And by walking around money, I mean, so we can buy lunch or maybe a cocktail or two, whatever. But it's usual and customary in the industry for you to get a per diem in addition to your fee. So always ask about that. What is the per diem? Okay, so we've agreed what we're going to get paid for playing the gig. We've agreed how they're going to get us there and all that. Now, once we get there, and I always ask them this, I say, where are we staying? And, something I don't want to hear is, well, Steve, we've got rooms at the Motel 6. Are you kidding me? Let's talk about the Marriott. Let's talk about the Hilton. Let's talk about something like that. Because really, if you're out there on the road, you don't want to stay in some cheap-ass hotel and all that. You need to be comfortable. And even if you're traveling by bus, hey, here's the way the drill works. The bus pulls up in front of the Marriott or the Hilton, and you go in and you got a room there. So you can, in this case, their sound check was at 1:30 and their show started at 11. Well, there's time for a nap, because you ain't going to get any sleep on the bus. It's just not going to happen. So at any rate, be sure you get it straight about the level of hotel where you're going to stay. Now, by the way, don't you guys forget, you can like this and share it with groups you're in or with your friends and neighbors and bandmates. Now that we got me checked into the Marriott, I want to get a couple of things straight. What about incidental expenses? In other words, I'm going to be pressed for time and all that. So You gonna cover my room service bill? How about the minibar? And what if I've got to get some dry cleaning and laundry, such as that? Because, there ain't no washing machine on the bus. And so at any rate, make sure that everybody's straight on what all is going to be covered at the hotel. Now, I got to tell you something. In the 70s, I was touring with a very internationally known band. It had a bunch of zillion sellers, and we were working for a major label. I will not disclose who this was because they may try to come back and collect some of this. But the deal we had with them was, when we checked into the hotel, anything that we could figure out how to charge to our room, we could have. If you were in room, 978, if you could get it put on the bill for that room, it was yours. And about halfway through the tour, and we were staying in first class hotels because this was a big time act. A couple of the guys figured out that a lot of times in these nice hotels, they'll have a nice men's store down there. And there were several of my bandmates, I didn't do this myself now, I didn't do it, they were charging nice suits. They go down in the men's store and get them a nice suit and all that, charge it to their room. Oh yeah, and we were getting overpaid for playing that tour anyway. So anyway, but make sure that they put you up on good accommodations, really. 6 and where you want to stay. Now, something else that's virtually always included on these out-of-town gigs is when you get there for sound check and all that, they're going to have a couple of vans or limos and some local drivers that know their way around, because they're going to be something you need. And you don't know where to get it in Cincinnati or wherever you are. And your local driver is going to know they got a vehicle that is at your disposal and all that. So, take advantage of that, and always make sure that local driver with a van or limo is available to you. That you got to have this stuff if you're going to survive on the road. All right, now let's talk about another thing, and that other thing is what we're going to eat on the road. Now, I got to tell you this funny story. I was playing in, I think it was Minneapolis with Dr. John, and we were in the green room, and these people come in and say, "Oh, since you're from New Orleans, we fixed you Cajun." Are you kidding me? You think folks in Minneapolis know anything about cooking etouffee or, all that good stuff? No, they didn't. They were trying to be nice. They were trying to be nice. But whenever I'm playing in another city, I try to eat local because, there's great food everywhere. I'm particularly fond of playing in the Southwest because I love that Tex-Mex food and all of that. Man, I'll just make myself sick. I'll eat so much of it. But I love it. Every area has something good. And you should take advantage of that and specify that yeah, I'd like, a local specialty. If I'm in Chicago, man, I'm telling you, oh yeah, I know, Dell. I know. But if I'm in Chicago, man, they got great pizza in Chicago and the best steaks, I think, in the world. So we're going to do that. Now, I have a very good friend that I used to play with a lot, and this guy is violently allergic to peanuts. He can't eat anything cooked in peanut oil, or got the least little bit of peanut, or he gets very seriously ill. You got to take him to the emergency room and all that. And there's some other food allergies out there. If you've got one, you need to let them know before you take the gigs. I can't eat this. I don't want any gluten stuff, all that. Now, uh, with regard to your food, here's something I always like to do. I don't like a heavy meal before I have to go on stage and run around and, all that stuff that you've seen me do. So I always ask for a light meal before the show, and I prefer sushi because I love sushi. And, most people can do that. Um, so consider all of that. You're going to want something to eat at sound check. And you also, hey, there's the wild man. Joe is with us now. Welcome, Joe Albano. He's a good guy. But I want to tell you something. Make sure that they got you something to eat after the gig. Boy, I am hungry even if I only play a 1 hour show. Man, I could eat the paint off the wall. So be sure that all this is scheduled and you're going to get what you want. That's important. So uh, consider all this. Consider all this. Now, another thing that you want to be sure that you get is what we call the tour book. And that's going to tell you what time the lobby calls are, what time the bus leaves, everybody's phone number, the stage managers at the festival, all of that, who a good repair technician is in that city, who the best bail bondsman is. That can be vital information, and all that. But it'll all be spelled, and where you're going to on the next trip. Now, when we get to the sound check, now understand that you need to get a couple things straight. Do you provide your own microphone by choice? Sound company, of course, is going to do that. There's Eric Olson, our good friend. He's a stage designer, man, and brilliant. He's a cool guy. But anyway, I always like to use my own wireless setup. And of course, it plugs into any PA. Just plug the receiver in, and then, I got the wireless thing on my horns and all that. I liked the system I was using very much. I was using a Shure Brothers SM98, I think, and a true diversity system that broadcasts simultaneously on 2 channels and all that. But make sure that the sound company is okay with that. Now, another thing that I have that I know some of you do is I've got some in-ear monitors that were custom made for my ears. They fit right in there. And I can plug them, right in and all that. Make sure that the sound company is okay with that. So all of these things you need to get straight before you take the gig. All right, now here's something else. If you play, I don't care where you play it, you need to find out what the rules are about the guest list. And that's something I'm gonna tell you something. Don't abuse the guest list. Don't do it. If they say, well, all the people in the band can have 2 guests, well, that doesn't mean 4. Do that. Make sure also that if you having guests at the show at the venue, is that guest gonna get backstage access? Yes or no? I prefer no. But some people want to bring their people backstage. Now, another thing that comes up from time to time, if you're traveling by tour bus, I damn sure don't want anybody, any guest on the bus. That's our space. Now, that's not to say that over the years I have invited some young ladies aboard the tour bus. I'd always tell them we had candy and puppies on the bus. That seemed to work every time. Y'all remember that. But anyway, ordinarily the bus is off limits to visitors. So we need to, Joe, we're going to address that in a minute. You know that's important. But the fact is that you need to be sure that all that's straight on who your guests are. and make sure that they don't get to the will call window at the show and say, "Yeah, here I'm John Smith, and I'm Steve Goodson's guest, and this is Fred, my brother-in-law. I thought I'd bring him." Can't do that. Now, my good friend, Mr. Joe Albano, who's a music legend. Oh, he's a wild man too. I love Joe. But something else that's important is I not only specify the food that I want in the green room and all that stuff, I also want to specify back behind the back line, I want some water in coolers or whatever, but something else. And I know when I was playing in Dr. John's band, that they would always ask us, what kind of liquor you want in the dressing room. And man, it didn't matter what it was you wanted, because we could get anything we wanted. And I'll admit that I am a drinking man, and I do like that small batch bourbon very much. And so, yes, be sure and specify what you want back there. That's important. So keep straight on all of those things. They're important. And now, one other thing that I want to talk to you about. I don't have any CD, because I don't have any of my own material, okay? But a lot of my good friends, saxophone players, in addition to working as sidemen for touring acts and such as that, they would have their own CD. I know my good friend Dwight Anderson's got a great CD. Jimmy Carpenter, I think Jimmy's got 3. Dwight Anderson's watching. Dwight's my hero. But yes, he's got a great CD. If you ever at one of his gigs, you need to buy one and then buy one for everybody in your family. Everybody needs their own Dwight Anderson CD. I got one. But get that straight. Can you sell your merchandise at the venue? And a lot of times you can. So I would recommend get that straight. Ask this ahead of time. These are some pointers on straight on this. Don't take a gig for not enough money, because you're going to be gone. Even if it's a one-shot deal like my student was playing, he's going to be gone for 2 days. And, you can't do that for $100 or, whatever. You got to, it's got to be worth your while. So get all of these things straight. Now, I want to tell you that in just a little while, our good friend Donna Schwartz is going to be giving a seminar over there on her site. And Donna's always got something good to teach. So now, before we sign off, I want everybody to give us a like and then share it with all the groups you're in and all your friends and neighbors and all that. So that's all I've really got to say about all this stuff. I hope that that we'll put this up on YouTube tomorrow, and it'll be on my Facebook sites for some time. So, next time somebody calls you and wants you to play out of town and all that, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And be professional, play the best you can, and they'll hire you back. So, that's really all I got to say tonight on this topic. I want to thank you all for joining us for this. We'll be back in another 2 weeks with another topic. If you have questions in the meantime, I want you to know that you can call me at my office during business hours, and as long as I'm not helping a customer or on another line, then I'm glad to talk to you and answer any of your questions, about the meaning of life or saxophones or anything about the music business. I enjoy these seminars, and I hope you do. We've had just tremendous crowds, and I thank you for watching. So, this is Steve Goodson reminding you, here's something you need to know. Practice long tones every day. Keep your reed wet, and always play Sax Gourmet. Why? Because Sax Gourmet plays best. All right, this is Steve Goodson signing off. See you in 2 weeks. Goodbye for now.